Hey guys, in this week's episode, we're going to review The Trial of the Chicago 7. But before that, we're going to talk about rewatching some 30 Rock and the Borat Subsequent Moviefilm. So it is going to be a fun episode. Join us!
Welcome to the Casual Cinecast powered by Cinelinx. My name is Justin. Normally you'd be hearing Chris's voice introducing the episode, but he will not be with us for the next little while, and he will return though, so if you're a big Chris fan, worry not. For now, it's just going to be myself and joining me, Mike.
Hello.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking. It's been a minute, but it's good to be here, getting ready to record again. We're technically already recording, but you know.
Yeah, if you're not recording, let me know because this is...
We've already messed up.
Yeah, we're screwing up.
Anyways, if this is your first time listening to the show, normally we like to start off every episode in a section called News on the March, where we talk about film and TV news and everything we've been watching, and then we move into our feature review. This week, we're reviewing Aaron Sorkin's new Netflix film, The Trial of the Chicago 7.
Yeah, and here on the Casual Cinecast, every other week, or just about every other week, we put out a Casually Criterion episode. In these episodes, listeners, that's right, that's you, choose a film from the Criterion Collection for us to review by voting in a poll that we put out on our Twitter account. So look forward to our next Criterion poll, and look backwards in our catalog for plenty of Criterion Collection content. And speaking of Criterion Collection, Mike, did you know or notice... or we're aware of Criterion having a 24-hour flash sale over the last week or so?
I was, and I was also saddened because I was not able to participate in said sale.
Oh, no.
Because I am putting a nice little chunk of change away for a PlayStation 5 upgrade within the next coming months. So I'm depressed that I didn't get to partake in this sale, but maybe someone else I know did.
Yeah, I who else would you know that would maybe?
I don't know. Justin, did you get anything in the sale?
I did, but now I feel bad talking about it because you're sad that you didn't get to buy anything.
That's okay. When my PlayStation 5 arrives, I'll be sitting pretty.
Yeah, you'll be watching stuff in 4K, and I'll just be watching Criterion Blu-rays.
Yep. Like a loser.
But yeah, I did order something. I normally only buy Criterions like twice a year during the big sales.
Mm-hmm.
And the flash sales I kind of let go by because usually I don't have as much money when those come around. But I happened to do some extra work and get a couple of extra bonuses this month. So
Ooh la la.
I had a little extra cash, so I super treated myself. I only got two things, but one of them was Agnes Varda's box set.
That is awesome. I am really jealous of that. I would love to see more Agnes Varda films.
Yeah, me too. I've seen two. I've seen Le Pointe Court, probably not saying that right, and Cleo from 5 to 7.
Yeah, and I've only seen Cleo from 5 to 7, and I love that movie. I put my Twitter handle name after it and any other social media that I can claim that.
Yeah.
Because it's just cool. I like it. And when you have a common name like Mike, it's cool to find some kind of username that you can fit in there somehow.
Yeah. Have you ran into any social media account where you haven't been able to use Mike from 5 to 7?
No, actually. But sometimes I have to be inconsistent with it. Sometimes like I have to have underscores and then sometimes like no spaces at all.
Right. Okay. So sometimes you do run into something similar and you just have to differentiate.
Yeah. But gotcha. Usually no variation of like Mike from 5 to 7 has already been taken. And don't take it, listener, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, Mike from Cinemus and other Mikes who may be listening.
Yeah, don't do it.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm super excited to get that, and that's kind of a habit that I have with Criterions is when they do a box set or a big box set, if there's like one film in there I've seen that I know I'm a fan of, I'll just buy the box set and that'll be my excuse and ability to go through the rest of it and watch everything else pretty easily, right?
It's like that one time I bought that John Wayne, John Ford box set for that huge edition of The Searchers. Right. And then I just got a bunch of other cool John Wayne, John Ford movies to watch.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a win-win.
Yeah, I
cool.
Considered myself pretty lucky.
Yeah, so the big item was the Agnes Varda box set, and then I also got a single film, Frances Ha from Noah Baumbach.
Oh, yeah. This is like the Noah Baumbach film I still have yet to see. And I don't know why, because I love everyone involved in this movie.
Yeah, it's really good. I recently rewatched it after talking to a friend about who he had watched Lady Bird and Little Women for the first time, and we were talking about him, and I was
Lucky guy.
Yeah. He's like, you should. He had not heard of Greta Gerwig or seen anything that she was in. I was like, she came from acting and moved into directing. I hope she doesn't just direct, because she's great in things like Frances Ha. So he rewatched it. So I rewatched it so I could be fresh when we talked about it, and it's so good.
Isn't Adam Driver in Frances Ha?
He is.
That's good. I like Adam Driver.
Yeah, he's really good in it. But
no surprise there.
I got that one to add to my Noah Baumbach Criterion stack, which I don't really have a stack of it, but you know what I mean.
How many do you have?
I think I have Marriage Story.
Nice, me too.
Frances Ha, and I think I have Kicking and Screaming. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Does he have any others that are in the collection?
Oh, Squid and the Whale. I also have
Squid and the Whale. That's right.
There it is.
I still haven't seen Squid and the Whale.
Never?
Never.
Oh, wow. You should.
I know. I remember when it came out, I was working at Blockbuster, actually. Oh, no, actually, I think it had already been out whenever I started working at Blockbuster.
Yeah.
But it came out at a time whenever, like, there was a lot of indie movies big, you know, in the map pencil drawing style.
Yeah.
Was on a lot of, like, indie quirky comedies. And I felt the Squid and the Whale's cover was too insufferable.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
To like, draw my attention. And even like the name seemed a little too like indie quirky. I don't know. I think I had a miscomprehension of like the tone of the movie as well, because I hear the movie is actually pretty biting and like good, but it seemed like a Juno knockoff, or like I don't know, what's another like indie movie that came out around that time with like the matte pencil lettering? You know what I mean?
Like the Chum Scrubber.
Yeah, the Chum Scrubber, or like
that's kind of an obscure one, but like there's like Eagle versus Shark.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it all just seemed like marketed the wrong way, I think.
Yeah. I think you'll like that one a lot. I think you'll like Frances Ha a lot. Frances Ha is on Netflix. That's where I rewatched it.
Yeah, it's been on Netflix for years, and I have hovered over that thing. I can't even tell you how many times.
Well, maybe if you should go watch it this week, and then we can discuss next week on News on the March.
Okay. I mean, sure. Why not?
Yeah,
Sounds
it's
good.
Short. You can do it.
All right. That's my excuse. You have to embarrass me on the show next week if I haven't watched it.
Done, and done.
And if I feel like it's not going to happen, I'll just edit this whole part of this episode out, and no one will be any wiser.
Smart.
that I didn't follow through.
Cool. Well, that was a longer discussion than I intended to happen here in like the intro part of the show.
We like Criterions.
Yeah, normally the intros don't go on that long, but yeah, we like to gush about Criterion. And if you want to vote in the polls to choose our next Criterion film, when we do have another poll out, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Casual Cinecast. The polls are on Twitter, but we will post about them on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to send us any questions, topics, etc., you can send those to any of those social media accounts or to casualcinemedia@gmail.com. And then, of course, if you haven't done so already, go into iTunes, give us a 5-star review, let us know that we're a show worth checking out. Or not, yeah, I guess let us know, but also let other people who see ratings know, too.
But it would let us know, and it would make us feel really good.
That's true. Good point.
All right. And I think with that, we should probably just get on into News on the March. What do you say?
Absolutely. Let's go.
News on the March.
All right, Justin, it looks like you have been a busy guy this week. So what have you been doing? What have you been watching?
Well, I've been watching a little bit of a lot of different TV shows, but the main thing that I wanted to talk about was that I finished 30 Rock with my wife. We've been watching it through for what feels like, I don't know, almost a year now, just watching it here and there alongside other shows. And,
is this your first time finishing the show?
No, it's my second time to finish it all the way through, even though I've seen like the first half of it like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I've seen the first season a lot.
Yeah, same. But this being my second time to finish it, I wanted to call out how good that show is, because I know we talk about sitcoms here and there on the show as we watch new ones or new ones come out and whatever. And a common thing that we talk about is how often sitcoms run on too long.
Yeah.
And diminish in quality before they end and wrap up. And I really feel like 30 Rock does not suffer from that problem.
Yeah.
More
I
than
feel
most.
like whenever I was watching it at the time, I felt like the later couple seasons, once Elizabeth Banks's character enters the scene,
Yes.
I felt myself getting a little tired of that whole plot line. But then, like, once those plot lines that maybe don't work so well, like in the later seasons, go away, the show still finishes with a bang, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it does. It gets really good, and then the last 2 seasons are a little shorter, if I remember correctly. They're not the 22 to 24 episode seasons. I know the last episode or the last season is only, I think it's 12 episodes, something like that. So
which
I think
is a far cry from like half of what the show started each season with.
Right. Yeah. But you're right with the Elizabeth Banks. She was not the greatest character, and they did a lot with her for a while. But I think they kind of recovered that and make some of that worth getting through with the whole plot line where she gets kidnapped by Kim Jong-il in North Korea for like a couple of seasons.
That's a name
of the show.
I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, or it might be Kim Jong-un. I don't really
I think
know.
Il was in power whenever 30 Rock was happening.
I think so, but they milk a lot of great stuff out of her being kidnapped, and also at the same time get her off the show where she's, not being the best thing that they ever did.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But Tina Fey is really the backbone of the show, and of course Alec Baldwin as well. But Alec Baldwin is a guy that I appreciate whenever I'm watching him, and less so when I'm hearing about his existence outside of what I'm watching him in.
Really? I don't know anything about his existence. I just ignore it and just
he's kind of a crappy
admire
dude.
him. Yeah?
Yeah. Like,
do I want to know? I don't know if I want to know.
Just years of just being a crappy dude. I don't know. Just like outbursts. He's like got a temper. Like I remember there's like a leaked phone call where he called his daughter a pig.
Okay.
Just, I don't know. Just general dickish behavior.
Yeah, fair enough.
He's like a Sean Penn light, I guess.
Yeah. Well, nobody's perfect.
No, none of the Baldwins, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I highly recommend 30 Rock if you've never seen it before. If you're listening to this podcast, you like TV, you like film.
Yeah, Donald Glover actually started out as a writer on this show.
He did. He makes a very brief cameo early on in like season 1, I think. He has like one line and he walks away.
Yeah, and then I assume he
great.
left the show around the time Community was starting. So probably he's only in the first couple seasons, but still, his brand of humor's there.
Oh yeah, it's totally there, and it's very similar to Community. There's a lot of meta humor about it. It being a show about writers and the people who produce a show that's similar to SNL. So it's a show about a TV show, so they have a lot of fun with that, and I really love the show. It's got to be one of my all-time favorite sitcoms. Yeah,
it's really good, and it's creative, and it's unique, and it's got a tone that is just so shamelessly silly. All the time. I really quite like it. And I have often wanted to go back and watch it. And actually, my ex-girlfriend and I started it really late one night because I was going to try to get her hooked on it. But then she fell asleep pretty quickly. So I should have acted earlier in the evening, but oh well.
Yeah. Oh well. Next time.
C'est la vie. All right. Yeah. So anything else about 30 Rock?
Nope. That's it.
Cool. Well, what else have you been watching this week, sir?
The other thing that I've been watching, which you have also watched, so we can both talk about it.
Yes, we can.
Well, I guess you've also watched 30 Rock, but you've watched this one more recently.
That's true. Much more recently.
Yeah, but that is a Borat Subsequent Moviefilm, which is, in short, that's Borat 2.
Yeah. So this is a film that was actually, I heard about being filmed, a few months ago, which I'm sure a lot of people did, but I don't think anyone thought it was going to be for Borat 2. I thought, the little clip that I saw of him on the internet breaking up some like alt-right rally thing, I thought that was for his Showtime show. For like Who is America? And so, yeah, it seems like he just was like sneakily trying to film Borat 2 and succeeded in doing that, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. I wonder, there's part of me, like a conspiracy theory part of me that wonders if that whole Who is America show kind of doubled as a cover for him to film Borat too.
Maybe so. Or at least I think he got the idea when doing Who is America. He's like, these characters just don't have the same punch that Borat does, like the same believability, direct to your, like, I don't know, like Borat disarms people because he's so foreign and goofy. Whereas like some of his other characters, like bodybuilders or whatever, they can seem a little more less, I guess, just less disarming.
I think there's just something kind of likable about Borat that, he does have a lot of problematic beliefs and issues from like his supposed culture, right? But there's something kind of innocent about it.
Right, yeah. He seems like he genuinely doesn't know right from wrong in a lot of examples, and people like, especially in this movie, people seem to want to pity him, which is, I think, a nice change of pace from the first Borat, which seemed like it was a lot more sharper and biting and cruel. Whereas this one, I feel like, I don't know if you felt this, but I feel like Sacha Baron Cohen is almost trying to show us a sweeter side of things, as well as the same satire he always does, but with maybe less of like a hateful edge. I don't know. Something about Borat 2 feels a little more wholesome, though.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too that works about the film, at least compared to his more recent stuff like Who is America, is that you have similar characters to things that he did in Who's in America, because he does, as Borat, dresses up as other characters, right?
Right, yeah.
But having Borat be the person underneath that character somehow makes like those other characters he does like a little more tolerable.
Yeah, well, it's a point of view, I guess.
Works.
I don't know. It's an angle. It works.
But yeah, he is more sympathetic, and I think there's a lot more in this movie about him. You kind of wanting him to learn his lesson, because it's kind of clear what he needs to learn this whole movie, like with his daughter and the way that he treats her and his opinion of her and women in general. Like it's, I don't know, it's just kind of right there on the surface the whole time, and you're watching that unfold as opposed to in the first one, where it's just kind of like, well, let's just see how many people he's going to offend and piss off.
Well, yeah, the first one, it's like he could go anywhere and do anything for any reason, and people didn't know him. In this one, they really try to tie all the stunts into the narrative of the movie. That it's like the narrative is more important this time than it was the first time. Yeah.
And I think because of that, in my opinion, I don't know if the film is as overall funny, because I think I do miss some of those big like set pieces. When they're tied into the narrative, they can't be as like different
random
from each other and extravagant, and random was a good word. And so I know that keeps them a little more grounded to the story, and so there's not as many big set pieces that stick out to me, like the first one, the rodeo and the guys in like the RV and the church and all kinds of like crazy stuff. There's not quite as much of that.
No, I agree with that. I would say it's not as funny, but I would say I still enjoyed it. I don't think the trade-off I think the trade-off is worth it for the sweetness. I don't know if I would have felt that a couple years ago, but times have been tough lately, and so it's nice to watch something more reaffirming than something that's just sort of like we get it. People are pretty crappy to each other. I mean, this movie has that, right? Like, sure. There's a guy literally like hammering a crate shut to mail a girl back somewhere.
You're right.
And he seems to have zero, hesitation to do that. So it still shows you a lot of crazy stuff, but it also goes out of its way to really show you the goodness and out there that exists as well, and the love, and that not everyone is such an ignorant, awful human being.
Yeah. I like the trade-off too. Like I probably, end of the day, like the movies equally, just for slightly different reasons, right?
Sure, yeah. I think that this movie, like, it makes me want to watch the first Borat again. It makes me, I don't know, it just makes me like Borat more in general. I don't know, this movie, they feel like one complete goofy story, I guess. Yeah. And I feel like the second one kind of completes some ideas that were maybe unexplored in the first one, because, society just wasn't talking about like the Me Too stuff and all that, but that is very much prevalent in the 2006 Borat film, So it's actually, I think it's good that they can bring someone like Borat, who was always supposed to be this ignorant man-child. They can, he can turn a new leaf, and we see what that looks like. And I don't know, I think it's nice. I think it's worth it for this time of year, even if it's not quite as, like you said, it's not quite as impressive or sprawling or inventive as like even Bruno, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I was a little hesitant towards the movie too, like a Borat sequel.
Yeah, I don't think Who is America impressed anyone. too much.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. It's coming from that. And it is a bit of what you said is, times are pretty negative in a lot of places. And some more. That's why I stopped watching Who is America, because it was just like depressing me more than it was making me laugh. And I worried about the same thing from this movie. So I am pleasantly surprised at how much this film did not depress me. And
dude, I'll tell you what, I'm surprised at how hard I freaking laughed at some things. Like, I was watching it by myself, and I'll be vague, but there's a scene where there's a dance that takes place.
Yeah.
Like the fertility dance. And dude, I laughed so hard at that just because like it's so uncomfortable. It's so like you want to crawl out of your skin and just not watch, but just the dance that Baron Cohen does next to this girl, who, by the way, we haven't mentioned her. The actress that plays Borat's daughter in this, Maria, what's her name?
Maria Bakalova?
Yeah, well, she is awesome. She steals the show. She's the heart and soul of this movie. I don't think anything in this movie works without her. Yeah, no, I think she's great. Just as talented as he is, and I hope she has a wonderful career ahead of her and gets lots of recognition for this movie.
Yeah, and I will call the movie out for doing one thing that I am really impressed by is there's like a makeover segment of this movie where they make her over, and I appreciate that, in a lot of makeover movies, like when they make the girl more attractive, like her initial state, she's already attractive.
Nope. Yeah, not here.
They successfully pull off the like before and after being very different. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
in fact, I was like, God, what does this girl even look like for like the first like 5 scenes she's in before the makeover happens?
Yeah. She's
always
dirty.
Got hair in her face and like she's dirty.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
You can't even get a peg on like what the hell her face even looks like.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. So I was very surprised, when they put her through everything and seeing her the way she looks, in the last half and the end of the movie. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Does not seem like the same person.
No, it doesn't. She's a girl that's like can believably be like this crazy like Eastern European foreign girl that's like never seen any luxuries at all, doesn't know what a room is. And then she can also believably be a girl that could seduce a politician. Yeah. and make him go against his better judgment and put himself in a compromising situation. So she's a chameleon.
Yeah, she's great. I was very impressed. She held her own against Sacha Baron Cohen in this movie, which I think is no easy task. Yeah,
it's hard to be more over the top than Sacha Baron Cohen and also at the same time like funnier.
Yeah, and she's very funny.
She's hilarious. So, it sounds like 2 endorsements for Borat 2 Subsequent Moviefilm.
Absolutely. It's free on Amazon Prime. Most people have that, I think, or a lot of people do.
According to Amazon Prime, tens of millions have already watched it, but they won't give an exact number. Okay. As these streaming services tend to be like sometimes. They just like to make big, bold claims.
Yeah. Well, I believe that. Borat's pretty popular.
Borat was a very popular movie.
Yeah.
Back in 2006.
All right. Well, anything else on Borat Subsequent? I can't even say it. Borat Subsequent Moviefilm?
No, I don't think so. I guess it's probably time for us to talk about a different Sacha Baron Cohen film.
Yep. It's the week of Sacha Baron Cohen.
It seems. Okay, so I guess with that, let's move into our review of The Trial of the Chicago 7, written and directed by Aaron Sorkin.
At the defense table,
Abby Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, Dave Dellinger, Rennie Davis, Lee Weiner, John Freund, Tom Hayden, and Bobby Seale.
These defendants had a plan, and the plan was to incite a riot.
I call this portion of the trial with friends like these.
My trial's begun without my lawyer.
The court assumes you are being represented by the Black Panther sitting behind you.
The riots were started by the Chicago Police Department.
Sustained.
Nobody objected.
Jurors 6 and 11, they're with us. Juror number 6 and juror number 11, you're dismissed from this jury.
Can you tell us why?
Because this is my courtroom.
We've dealt with jury tampering, wiretapping, a defendant that was literally gagged.
Get your hands off me!
You're the first to suggest that I have discriminated against a black man.
Then let the record show that I'm the second.
When we walked in here this morning, they were chanting that the whole world is watching. If we leave here without saying anything...
All right, so as always, with the newer films that we review on the show, we will be doing a spoiler-free section first. We'll be giving our general thoughts with no spoilers, and that can hopefully influence whether you want to see the movie or not. But then we will give you a spoiler alert before moving into a spoiler section so that you have plenty of time to pause the podcast, go watch The Trial of the Chicago 7, and then come back and finish listening.
All right. Trial of the Chicago 7, directed by Aaron Sorkin, starring Eddie Redmayne, Alex Sharp, Sacha Baron Cohen, amongst more. The IMDb synopsis says the story of 7 people on trial stemming from various charges surrounding the uprising at the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, Illinois.
Nailed it. About as straightforward as a lot of this movie.
Yeah, although, I would have liked including Bobby Seale in there and just round it up to 8. Even though the movie's called The Trial of the Chicago 7, I would have liked the IMDb synopsis to be like the story of 8 people on trial. That way people who read the synopsis before seeing the movie are like, what? Where's this 8th person?
Yeah.
What's going on?
What happens? How does it go from 8 to 7? I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Is that a fluke or a mystery?
It's a typo?
Yeah. What's happening?
Get it together, IMDb.
Yeah, exactly. So, Justin, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. What did you think of The Trial of the Chicago 7? And also, side question that you should answer before that question.
Okay.
What's your overall thoughts on Aaron Sorkin?
Man, let me look up Aaron Sorkin real quick. Well, so Aaron Sorkin, he's pretty popular. I know the name. I guess I've seen a lot of his movies that he's written.
Yeah, Social Network, Few Good Men,
Moneyball.
Right?
I saw Charlie Wilson's War. Okay. I didn't realize he did Charlie Wilson's War, which is
he did West Wing.
I never watched West Wing.
Yeah, I didn't either, but he's made some bangers.
Few Good Men, I guess, is one of his biggest.
I said that one first.
Did you? Okay.
That was the first thing I said. No, Social Network was the first thing I said.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, so I like a lot of the stuff that he's written. I can't think of anything that I've seen that he's written that I didn't like. I did not see Molly's Game, which was his first writing, directing thing.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So how was that?
It's spoilers, I guess, but I think Aaron Sorkin's a better writer than he is director.
Okay. Yeah, I think that might be about where I'm at. I think that I almost could have listened to this movie and enjoyed it just as much.
Yeah.
I think the script is there. The story is there. It's interesting. I think that, from the get-go, I was kind of hooked into the movie. And
it's kinetic. It moves. It's never dull.
Yeah, no, not at all. And this is a story that I knew nothing about, too.
Yeah, same. And I had no idea that there was even a thing happening at the 1968 National Democratic Convention.
Yeah, me neither. So, it's certainly a very timely movie, too. So that's one of the things that helps propel it along right now, is because it feels like this could just be a modern movie about something that happened a couple months ago, Yeah. And
I think that's intentional.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I had to guess about that.
Yeah, that's totally fair. But I think also, not knowing anything about this, what I will say is that even though I think the movie's a decent length, it's a little over 2 hours, it was pretty engaging to me and kind of flew by almost too fast. I think we're getting a really broad overview of this story in a way that feels incomplete to me, or just really surface level in the sense that I want to know a lot more. And granted, according to the movie, this trial lasts over 100 days, so we can't really spend every day of the trial. It would be a real long movie, but I think I could watch a 10 episode documentary on this or something, or a 10 episode miniseries of something.
Yeah, or at least a 4 or 5 episode miniseries on Netflix or something.
Sure, yeah. Anything like that, I think would be really great, because it's captivating, it's compelling. I just, as a whole story trying to be crammed into a 2 hour movie, it feels a little light to me in the details that I wanted.
Okay, that's fair.
I think the performances are pretty good. I think Eddie Redmayne is actually really good. This is one of the best things I think I've seen him do.
Yeah, once I adapted to what American accent he was using, I was keyed into his performance. But for like the first 3 or 4 minutes, I was like, what is this accent?
Yeah. I really like I really like him. I really like the actor who played Bobby Seale. I thought he was really good.
Yeah,
really
that's
compelling.
Dr. Manhattan from The New Watchmen.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
He's so much better in this movie.
Yeah,
and he's not
so
playing
much
Dr.
better.
Manhattan.
Yeah. Wow. I did not put that together. I thought he looked kind of familiar, but I just never.
Yeah, I would try
up.
to say his name, but I would only serve to like really butcher it. But it's he's an up and coming guy, and he's actually going to be in the new Candyman movie as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I think we're going to see a lot more of this guy.
Well, nice. Well, he's great in this. I think John Carroll Lynch is great in this. Everybody's good. Sacha Baron Cohen, I think he's really good, but it took me a lot longer than anybody else to adjust to his accent.
Yeah, well, I think his accent I never adjusted to. I liked his performance, but not his accent.
Yeah. Maybe I'm still adjusting to it.
I'll tell you, actually, there's one person in here that I didn't like his performance at all. And that is Reuben Strong. Or no, excuse me. I mean, Jeremy Strong playing Jerry Rubin. He's basically just doing like a Tommy Chong voice. And I felt like his hippie voice was kind of distracting.
Okay. Yeah. He didn't bother me. I actually didn't recognize him at all.
Yeah, he looked weird. He looks different than he normally does.
Yeah, he does. But maybe that's why it wasn't too distracting to me, because I just didn't recognize him as anybody else I already knew.
I mean, that makes sense.
So
it took me a long time to be certain it was him.
Yeah. But those are kind of my general thoughts. I don't think there's anything that super impressed me from a direction standpoint that I can think of. I enjoyed, there's like one section where we're cross-cutting between Abby Hoffman's character doing a stand-up routine and seeing events unfold and like scenes at the trial as well. And it's like a little montage of everything that was pretty effective. But other than that, I don't know. I think it's like a pretty straightforward, without any flash courtroom movie that is just interesting by means of having a super interesting story from the get-go and a lot of, pretty good performances. So I like this movie. I didn't love it as much as I hoped I would. But I certainly think it's worth watching and enjoyable. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Cool. I'm not too far from you. I think this movie it's good. It's a better script than it is complete product. And I think, like I said earlier, I think Aaron Sorkin is still learning when it comes to directing. I think you hit the nail on the head, basically, whenever you said that it feels like too much going on. And this movie very much feels like the highlights, right? Like the cliff notes of that trial, of 100 plus days of a trial. What were the most interesting parts that would fit and make a movie out of it? Like the protests from Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, where they dressed as like a judge and then as police officers and stuff like that. Apparently stuff like that really happened. Bobby Seale was really gagged like that. But whereas like the movie's different, apparently Bobby Seale was gagged for like days. It wasn't just like he was gagged and then, mistrial happened right away. That went on for a long time.
Right.
So, you're right. This movie, it's trying to tell an important story, but I feel like maybe the constraints of the 2 hour and 20 minute runtime or whatever really show in this movie. And it feels like there's a lot of artificial moments that Aaron Sorkin wants to put in to make the audience feel pumped or good or just have like a mic drop kind of moment,
Mm-hmm.
Like there's the moment whenever Bobby Seale is gagged and Frank Langella's character, who I don't know the name of the real life judge, but apparently that man was awful.
Judge Julius Hoffman.
Yeah.
No relation to Abby Hoffman.
That's true. Yes. They make a whole speech about that. He even says, I think at one point in the movie, he's like, in all my years, I've never been accused of being prejudiced towards a black man or whatever. And then like, one of the lawyers gets to be like, well, then let me be the second, like to accuse you of it, and it's just like moments like that feel a little artificial to me.
Yeah.
And I think like those are the kinds of moments that maybe in the hands of a more skilled director could have landed a little better. Because I think, The Social Network has some of those moments, like a mic drop moment where a character says something really clever.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel quite as fake or manipulative in some of Aaron Sorkin's other scripts.
Yeah, there's a touch of those moments having a bit of the characters or maybe the actors performing them knowing that their characters are on the right side of history.
Right,
and,
yes.
And doing it with a confidence that doesn't feel like it would have happened in the moment. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. Exactly. I'm sure by the end of the trial, all of these people were fed up with this judge and they were smarting off left and right. But I feel like in the beginning of the trial, at least for the purposes of the movie, you have characters being a little bit more abrasive just so we can kind of establish right away like what the dynamic is. I don't know. It just feels like you said, it all feels like a little too breezy, blowing through important bits that could have really spent more time on. Now, performances. I think across the board, strong performances. Like I said, I like Sacha Baron Cohen, even though I think his accent is what's supposed to be Boston. I wasn't even convinced it was American. I didn't know what the hell his accent was. So
yeah, same. It just sounded like his normal accent, and he would drop some Boston ahs every now and then.
Yeah, or something. It was strange. But I like him. I like to see Sacha Baron Cohen in serious movies getting cast, being able to, because I think he brings the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I think he does.
He works. And I generally, he's really good. He's one of the elements in Hugo that really makes me love that movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's great in Hugo.
Mm-hmm. So he can do it.
He can, and he's likable whenever he does it. So,
and he can even do it through not pulling off an American Boston accent very well. Like he still kind of works, right?
Yeah, I think once you adapt to whatever the hell he's doing, you adapt. You're on board. But
yeah,
one thing that Aaron Sorkin said that he did for this movie was he said he looked at a lot of protest scenes from other movies, and he actually brought up Argo, like the Ben Affleck movie.
Yeah,
for using archival footage split in with like extremely tight close-ups that they put in,
Right.
And it allows Sorkin to have like this really kinetic energy of the time. You're able to use archival footage with your own footage, and as long as you keep your footage really tight, it can blend pretty seamlessly and under the right editing. And I think this movie, that's one of the strong elements of it, is I really felt transported back to 1968. There's a lot of I've been kind of hard on this movie for feeling fake in a lot of places. I think the mood and the tone they set right, and like the 1968 National Democratic Convention feels very real. I didn't feel this movie's budget. It felt like a sprawling, big budget movie, and I felt like the 60s looked good. It looked like they were there.
Yeah, I agree. I was not taken out of it at all in that front.
One thing that Aaron Sorkin actually said that I think is interesting, which actually I think is a good direction decision, is he wanted this movie to very much feel like it's about today. So he asked the actors not to lean into the 1960s iconography so much.
Okay.
So that way the performances didn't feel like imitations of like hippies from the 60s or whatever. It felt like real people, real complex people that could be living today, because even though the movie takes place in the 60s, he didn't want it to feel outdated.
Right. Do you have anything off the top of your head? And if we need to move into spoilers before we address this, do you have anything that would represent that, like showcase that you can think of?
No, he just said it, but let's move to spoilers real quick and we can kind of speculate on it maybe based on our own opinions of the movie.
Sure. Okay, so
spoilers. Real quick, I would say out of 5, I give this a 3. It's a little too hokey, and I think the ending, the last shot of the movie, is actually quite terrible.
I do not remember it, so that says
you're about
something.
to hear about it in a few seconds,
Yeah.
and you'll know my problem.
I was sitting at a 3.5, but on the weaker side of a 3.5, but just purely from the sense that from start to finish, I didn't feel the runtime at all.
Yeah, that's fair.
For better or worse, like it was just completely entertaining and hooked me.
Yeah, no, I think 3.5 is absolutely fair, and I may be too harsh with my 3, but I'm about to unload on you on what I don't like about that ending shot.
Okay, great. So let's go to spoilers and do that.
Okay.
No, I guess Rosebud is just a piece in a jigsaw puzzle.
You want a cigarette you got up there? I'll tell you all about it.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
And here we go.
All right, so the ending shot, if you don't remember it, it's basically like they get sentenced or whatever, and then like there's a really wide shot of the courtroom, and then like I can't remember what happens, but everyone starts to clap, basically. And he's like, and Frank Langella's character basically just has to keep hitting the gavel on the freaking table for like a minute straight.
Yeah.
And he's like, order, there will be order in my courtroom. And it's just like, it pans out and it's just feels like
the camera like cranes backwards and out and like zooms out to like this wide,
like
this
really
wide shot
feeling thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like when you're watching Rat Race and then you're like, this is a pretty good movie. Why did everyone forget about this? And then Smash Mouth pops out at the end. And you're like, oh yeah, that's why.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. But that probably works for that movie now because Smash Mouth is just a meme band that like is super popular as a meme. So
yeah,
maybe that
like
just
Rat
works.
Race.
Me too. but yeah, I do remember thinking it being a little over the top and hokey, like his reaction, him like banging on the thing. And I kind of feel that way a lot about his character. I know we still want to talk about speculation as to what things they leaned away from like 60s stuff to feel modern. But real quick, that character of the judge, Frank Langella, is just like, he reminds me of in like late 90s, early 2000s, Adam Sandler and Ben Stiller movies when there's a character in the film that's just a complete dick to our main character in the movie.
Yeah.
Like relentlessly. And those movies are just like that character getting shit on, but there's people that are just unbelievably dickish where you're like, how can this person even exist? Like, it works in a comedy to an extent, even though I found it like super frustrating then, but I got the same vibes watching him, and I'm sure it's based in fact, but it just feels so over the top that I was like really riding the line between being just frustrated with the movie and knowing that I'm like feeling the right thing by being frustrated, you know?
Yeah. And ultimately I think where I come down on that is like, because I had the same thoughts for the first 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But then it kind of becomes apparent that that's why this trial is such a mess, is because the judge was so terrible, right? And then I think by the end of it, that's the point, right? Because like they even give you the stats at the end, right? Where it's like 79% of attorneys thought that this guy was terrible. Like the worst judge, not fair, all that stuff. So, you know, and they said it several times, it's a political trial. So it very much feels like he is a conservative stooge, you know, placed there to make sure that all the conservatives have some boogeymen to hate. It very much feels like something that could take place today. Like, you know, you get on the debate stage, you know, and you have someone like Sean Hannity moderating, it would not be fair at all. It would be completely biased in every it would be like this.
Yeah, yeah.
I think once the realization comes that, oh, this is the reason I'm hearing about this trial, is because it was such a gross abuse of the justice system.
Yeah, I think you adapt to it for sure.
Yeah, because I think that's very much what it's all about, right? Because at the end of the movie, they give you so much about why this guy was such a notoriously terrible judge.
Yeah. It's hard to watch at times.
It is, because it's cruel and it's ugly. Yeah. Especially like the scenes with Bobby Seale.
Yeah.
All of those scenes were so unbelievably frustrating, where he just like would not hear. These dudes are not his attorneys. They can't just represent him. He doesn't have a lawyer. Like, all of that was just so unbelievably frustrating. And you're just like, oh my God, this poor man. Like, this poor man. Like, he's in holding the whole time, and no one else is in holding. Like,
right.
You know, and like he even says, he's like, I'm here to make the whole thing look more scary.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, oh, that sucks. That felt real once I adapted to it. Like, I see what you're saying though. It did feel a little much at first.
Yeah, that's why I say I'd like this to be like I'd like to watch a documentary about this, like a long series, you know, just because that character is so stubborn and ridiculous. And I'm sure it's true to life, but like almost any portrayal of that is just going to seem awful.
It's almost like if it is true to life, you forget when watching dramas and like scripted stories, you forget how terrible people can be.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like part of me like, I don't want to buy this.
People can't get away with being that terrible. They have to be more cleverly written than that, you know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that's it I have for him. We can move on to the talking about the 60s, leaning away from the 60s iconography.
You know, I heard Aaron Sorkin say that. I don't have an example because, you know, whenever I think of like leaning into that 1960s iconography, Jeremy Strong is like all about that. He's basically just Tommy Chong when he plays Jerry Rubin, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So it seems like to me they do that, but then maybe not, you know, because they don't talk with like the far out kind of, you know what I mean? Like Tommy Chong guy does, Jerry Rubin, but no one else really does that.
Yeah, he's the only one.
Like Sacha Baron Cohen doesn't seem like a hippie.
No.
I mean, he is.
Bobby
but
Seale doesn't seem to be playing like a stereotypical Black Panther. Remember?
Oh yeah, like what is the thing they say at the beginning when he's like, "You guys got me sounding like a real cool cat" or something like that.
Yeah,
because like the false witness testimony.
That's right. Yeah. And I think Tom Hayden, Eddie Redmayne, and his friend, the one who's keeping track of the people who have died.
Yeah.
I think those two seem pretty modern.
I agree, and Mark Rylance as well.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think of Rylance in this? Because he's a guy that I think is generally pretty underrated. I know Spielberg uses him a lot lately. Said he never wants to do a movie without Mark Rylance again.
Wow.
I know, something like that. But what do you think of him? Because I feel like it's a good performance, but I feel like maybe he's not as compelling as the script maybe could have had him be.
Maybe not. You know, his character is kind of, in some ways, like the one we're rooting for, like the heroic one.
Right, he's
in a
the
way.
audience surrogate in this whole thing.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, he can't outburst like any of the people on trial can. Like as a lawyer, he has to pretty much keep it together.
Well, he's also got to say the clever Aaron Sorkin things. He's got to say the mic drop moments where he's got to be like, "You were a conscientious objector in World War II. Even I hate you." Or you took like the black guy who was sent in here to make the jury more scary, or the defendants more scary, and you made him into a sympathetic character. Like he's the one who's got to say stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Explain the reasons that Aaron Sorkin made the script the way he did. He's the audience being like, "Ah, yes, that completes our thought," you know?
Right. And he has to keep a lot of it under the surface because he has to keep his cool, right? As a lawyer. And
right.
I think there's a lot of subtlety that could be there in the performance that, while I don't think it's a bad performance and I think it's serviceable, I can see your point in saying that maybe somebody else could have had a lot more under the surface stuff going on, because he does have to just kind of have all of this like bubble up underneath him because he has to be presentable in court, right? And there's a lot of subtlety.
You know, and maybe it's not even so much the performance that I don't like, or not, don't like is a strong statement, but hesitant towards. But I think the main reason is I would have liked a little bit more drama with that character. The lawyer character is the closest thing to a main character we have.
Right.
And I feel like I would have liked maybe a few more scenes of him struggling with like, am I handling this case okay? Am I going to get these kids, you know, put in jail? I would have liked maybe a little bit more drama with him and what he's going through and thoughts about the trial, where the movie just doesn't have time for any of that.
No, because we spend so much time getting to know a lot of these trial members and see everything that happened. Yeah, we really don't spend any time with him outside of the courtroom or outside of talking to, the 7 or the 8. And yeah, maybe it is that. Maybe it's just the script doesn't give him that room.
Yeah, that's my conclusion I'm coming to now as we're talking about it, but who knows? Who knows?
No, I think that's fair. I had a super fun moment, as we've said that I didn't know about this story at all, but I had a super fun moment realizing that the Abby Hoffman character was the guy that Forrest Gump gets on stage with.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. It's funny.
At least I assume so, right? Like,
I haven't seen Forrest Gump in over a decade.
I don't know that I have either, but I watched it so much when I was younger that everything about it is like imprinted into my brain. And it's the scene where he gets on stage and there's a guy wearing the American flag shirt. It looks like Abby Hoffman in this movie, like American flag, afro. And he's on the stage and Jenny runs out into like the Washington Monument pool.
Oh, yeah,
and he runs off stage, but like he ends up accidentally in this like Vietnam War protest thing.
That's right. Yeah.
But to connect those dots and be like, oh, that, I guess I always like got the vibe that in Forrest Gump, that was a famous character. that I should know from history.
Yeah.
But I never knew.
Yeah, this would work as a good double feature with a lot of movies because there's a lot of names being dropped and there's a lot of context for like the Vietnam War, but not usually the context you're seeing in movies, Usually when you see the Vietnam War, you're in Vietnam,
Right.
This movie is very much about the Vietnam War, and I don't think there's any scenes that take place in Vietnam. I was thinking, what a cool double feature this would make with like The Five Bloods or something, right? Because The Five Bloods has a lot of thematic similarities to the trial of the Chicago 7, especially with the Black Panther stuff and how a disproportionately large amount of black men were being shipped over to Vietnam to be on the front lines. You can imagine why. So all of that I think is really cool. And it was cool to see a different version of that in this movie, or even Black Klansman to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent Spike Lee films I was thinking a lot of whenever I was watching like the Bobby Seale stuff, So I think it's cool how like you can watch Dunkirk and The Darkest Hour back to back and you'll get the different focuses on like the same events,
Yeah.
This very much felt like an alternate look at some of these more critical Vietnam movies that have been coming out recently.
Yeah, no, that's a totally fair point. I don't have anything to add. You're right. Those would be great. I would probably choose The Five Bloods.
Me too.
Over Black Klansman, but
I think it's more. It fits the theme better.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Not like on like merits of which movie's better, but
sure,
Yeah,
but that's about the extent of my thoughts on the trial of the Chicago 7. I think it's a solid movie, but I would like Aaron Sorkin to maybe, stick to selling his scripts to people like David Fincher. I want to see A Social Network too. That's really what I want to focus his career on going forward.
Yeah.
Get Jesse Eisenberg and get David Fincher back, Aaron Sorkin.
Everybody wants that. I mean, I think you could probably make another movie about Mark Zuckerberg based on all
they've
the
already talked about it. Aaron Sorkin said that he thinks it's the perfect time for A Social Network too, because he's gone on to not only be a threat to like the self-esteem of young girls feeling like they're being ranked unfairly like he was in the first movie, but now he's destroying everything. So
yep. True. Yeah.
Imagine the character study they could do about him now.
Yeah. I saw a quote and it's a little bit harsh, but I think it's like a good wrap up overall. But it was just saying, The Trial of Chicago 7 is a movie that proves just how boring a movie A Few Good Men would have and A Social Network would have been if Aaron Sorkin had directed them also. Which is harsh, but I thought was funny.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, man. The hands of like a director who really understands mood. Like it can take an Aaron Sorkin script full of like mic drop moments and moments that are felt to be like winky at the audience, and it could make it feel like the best drama of the decade, like Social Network,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sounds like I'm being harsher on Aaron Sorkin than I want to be, but he's got some hokey tendencies, especially as he gets older, I feel.
Yeah. Well, the issue to me is that he's coming from having written things like A Few Good Men and Social Network and, stuff like that. I'm blanking on the other one. And Moneyball and Newsroom and all of these like West Wing, like super well-received stuff. And he's moving into
Newsroom
directing.
Is a little bit more received kind of like this.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I think the Newsroom was kind of like the beginning of like him being a perfect writer. Sheen started to kind of wear off on a lot of people.
Okay. Well, forget I said that one. But he's coming off of those sort of things and like he's going to be compared to them, right?
I agree. Yeah. You're always going to be compared to your best work.
Yeah. So that's part of it.
Yeah, I think it's a huge part of it and a fair assessment.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else on Trial of the Chicago 7?
No. Watch it. It's worth watching.
Yeah, absolutely. It's on Netflix. Easy.
Easy breezy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we doing next?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that, then we're pretty much done with this episode, huh?
Yeah, stay tuned to this channel. Our next episode coming out will, I think, be On the Rocks, the new Sofia Coppola film starring Rashida Jones and Bill Murray.
Yeah, I think it's something you said when we were talking about what we should watch, and you said that, it's not that often this year that we're getting movies from big directors. So we should take advantage of it.
Big directors.
Yeah, so Normally we would be doing a Criterion episode next week, but we're going to do On the Rocks, and then from there we'll do another Criterion film probably after that.
Yeah, we'll play it by ear.
Yeah, but in the meantime, thank you so much for listening, listener. Thank you for talking to me, Mike. I've enjoyed this conversation a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you. And we miss you, Chris.
Yeah, we miss Chris. And of course, as always, thanks Jake Wagner Russell for doing our intro and outro music. If you want to hear more of his music, you can do so at soundcloud.com/bopscotch.
Everyone, have a wonderful evening, or afternoon, or morning. Whenever you're listening to this, have a good rest of your day.
Ditto. Bye.